Friday, and on Monday, expect a chance of rain.
508 for you. Another very dangerous storm south of Birmingham now. This one has about as clear a hook echo as you'll ever see on the radar. There it is. Very violent tornado happening right now. Bibb and Perry counties under that tornado warning. That signature is scary on the radar. I'm not going to lie to you, folks. That is bad. Right there is where the tornado sits, between the blue and the yellow on the screen there. So it's right at Peach Orchard Road, eventually headed toward Duff Road, Bailey Avenue, if you're familiar with any of these places, County Road 5, eventually headed toward Brent. Tornado emergency for you in Brent right now, so you have to get to shelter to get to some safety. That's a very violent tornado. What I'm showing you here is what's known as the correlation coefficient. It's what the software does on the Doppler radar that shows you where there is debris in the atmosphere. So it's as telling as you'll get. That's the debris right there that's being lofted by the tornado, that's within the tornado and being centrifuged out. Basically, the hook echo comes in like this. The tornado is wrapping up over and over and over again. It's just basically spinning on itself right now as the entire steering flow takes it off to the northeast. Brent, you are in a very dire situation right now. Get to shelter ASAP. You truly cannot waste a single second at this point. It's going to be there in a matter of minutes. And 6 Mile anticipated arrival time is between 5:15 and say 5:17 for you in Oakley, around 5:22 this evening. So very dangerous tornadoes happening for us right now in Alabama, Jackie. 2 very clear tornadoes. This one south of Birmingham, very violent.
Yes, and the one north and east of there right now kind of developed right on top of Birmingham. Our Paul Goodlow is there live right now. Paul, the sirens were going off when we checked in with you last time. It's now northeast of you. What did you experience?
We had some lightning beforehand, and the storm that came through wasn't even warned for a severe thunderstorm, and it produced a tornado, and that was a big concern. And you should bear that in mind as we head throughout the rest of this evening here. You don't only have to have warned storms, even severe thunderstorms, that you can quickly have tornadoes be produced in this type of environment in the atmosphere here. Again, downtown is north of me. The tornado probably formed just about there and then moved on towards the north and east. We have our secondary storm path camera, and this little audible for whoever's back in the control room. If they can go through that and roll back the last, say, 25 minutes, and they might be able to perhaps, we might have been able to catch that, because it could have been wrapped in rain, but also you still might see some of the low clouds moving as well. Because I tell you what, I look up and I see these clouds streaming in from the south, from the southwest and southeast, and the surface winds are from the south as well. So we're seeing that kind of turbulent atmosphere going on, that sheer setup here. We no longer hear the tornado warnings here because downtown that cell has moved to the north and east of you, but still other parts of Jefferson County are that warning, and it quickly continues to move on towards the north and east pretty rapidly. We're talking freeway speeds, 55 miles per hour. So you might not be able to see this, and this thing is on you like that. So if you're under this warning, seek shelter immediately. And also, by the way, we're having more and more power outages in this state, so have another way to be notified. A NOAA Weather Alert radio is great. Having your cell phone alerts on, have another friend or relative or neighbor, somebody keeping kind of a little group chat or text going on, let you know, hey, we're under a warning, that's for us, take shelter. Just the more ways you can be warned, it's great. I know the storms we had last week produced tornadoes. Amazingly, no deaths last year. Mike, I don't think we are going to be that lucky. I'm hearing some unconfirmed reports already, so yeah, it's going to be a long night.
This is a really, really scary situation with some of these tornadoes, Paul. Thank you very much. And Alabama in particular is the state that's at risk right now. We've got a lot of storms that are out there. That's the whole complex. But there are 2 tornadoes in particular that are really concerning right now. This one that is northeast of Birmingham that's just come past Trussville. I would say it's almost a guarantee something's been hit in Trussville tonight, unfortunately. St. Clair County, tornado warning for us. And Odenville, Ragland, eventually maybe even Gadsden, we're going to be at risk here. So St. Clair County, including Asheville, Odenville, Springville. These are all places. If you hear those names and you live there, you've got to go to shelter quickly. There's a very clear tornado happening right there. That's the velocity. So what we just showed you was basically precipitation, all right? Reflectivity on the radar. This is velocity on the radar, where you have a green and in this case, yellow, right next to each other. It's air that's moving away from the radar itself, and the radar beam is down off the screen to the bottom, where there's air moving away from the radar and where there's air moving toward the radar. It can detect that. And when they're right next to each other, you get something that looks like this, okay? And so it's very, very obvious we have a tornado right now. That moving off to the northeast, Branchville, 5:07. You got 2 minutes before it's there. Cool Springs, 5:13. So you've got about 8 minutes before it's there. And in Asheville, around 5:18 before the tornado is on top of you. I was looking at the correlation coefficient to see if we can have if we're detecting any debris that's in the air right now. Not necessarily. This doesn't necessarily, to me, indicate that we have debris. Doesn't mean that there couldn't be some, or that the radar still has to catch up, because it has to do a couple scans here, and then eventually it sends the data, and then you read the data, and then you see what's going on. This situation, though, south of Birmingham is a real concern. Catastrophic event potentially unfolding right now with an observed tornado and a tornado emergency in the town of Brent. So this is in Bibb County. This is a tornado, and that is
A tornado warning has been issued for your area.
Happening right now. So the tornado scene, I'm going to go even closer if I can on the street level mapping here. So right now, Duff Road is where the tornado is. Duff Road near Bailey Avenue. If you're familiar, that's where the tornado is right now, and it's going to ride, right up. This is the correlation coefficient. And as I showed you with the system that was up around Birmingham, you didn't really see much. That is very clear that we have a tornado happening right there. That is a tornado full of debris right now. So it's hit something. Could be trees, bushes, it could be anything. It could be pieces of building that have been hit as well. I'm gonna zoom down in on this one as well. Again, Duff Road, say Bailey Avenue. This is, I want to see what County Road 25. So basically coming across County Road 25 at this point with a really serious situation for us in Brent right now. In Brent, you have to get to shelter. You cannot be looking at this storm. You can't be on your front porch, trying to take pictures of it. You need to save your life, period. So Brent, 5:07, it's there. You got 1 minute, and that's it. Gary Springs, 5:13, Oakley, 5:24. Jackie, we look at radar all the time here at the Weather Channel. These signatures that we're seeing on the radar are frightening.
Yeah, it makes your heart drop. Certainly, as you watch this unfolding, because you know what the end result, unfortunately, is going to end up being. We've already had 3 lives lost today, at least in Alabama. Search and rescues are underway, and we've got another tornado, 2 of them, that are confirmed on the ground that have been causing damage. So we know at least trees or other debris is getting lofted. Likely structures are being affected by this as well, and it really is a life-threatening situation. It's one of those days where if you can get underground, that's going to be the best place to be, and you just have to trust the warnings, because these are going so fast that once the warning is issued, you've got to get there immediately. You don't want to hesitate. You don't want to make that phone call. You don't want to do anything other than getting to that safe room immediately, because time is going to run out. That's how fast these are moving. They're moving about highway speed, and speaking of which, that's exactly what it's going to be crossing here in short order. So I would say, if you know anybody right now that's traveling along Interstate 65 to the east here and to the south of Alabaster, to the southeast of Tuscaloosa, this is going to be crossing here in short order. You can't be in a vehicle. It's an extremely dangerous situation to be in a vehicle. You need to pull over. You need to get to some kind of a building, some kind of structure. They're going to let you in. Get in there and get to that safe place and pull over and pull out of this. Let's time this out for you. Centerville, this is coming in really soon, 5:08 p.m. This is likely going to be moving immediately right over Centerville. It does not look like you're going to be able to escape this. That's why we have the tornado emergency. So a tornado emergency elevates it a little bit more, and that's issued on top of a previous tornado warning. When we know that there's a tornado, we know that it's large, we know that it's destructive, and there's just no way out other than getting shelter, right? It's inevitable that it's going to be hitting your town. Oakley, you're going to be next in line here. Oakley, that should be arriving at 5:24, making its way towards Wessington here at 5:32, and then Manuka here at 5:34 p.m. So again, tornado emergency in effect for this cell. Centerville, this is for you. You need to be getting to that safe place right now. And notice on the periphery of all of this too, you may be affected by other dangerous parts of the storm. So you also need to be treating this as a tornado warning, because sometimes these don't move exactly within that polygon. And you can see that center of rotation right in here that's tracking up towards the north and to the east. So there you can see 5 is right here. 139, that is going to be crossing you eventually through this area. And this is going to be tracking right along and very near County Road 25. So all within that area, you need to be seeking shelter and getting to that safe place. And there you can see it's been extended farther out. Talladega Springs, just a heads up that while you're not technically in that warning, this holds together, and we have every reason to believe that it will. That warning will be issued for you and triggered for you very soon. All right, we want to bring in Mike again. And Mike,
A tornado warning has been issued for your area.
Birmingham, are they taking shelter right now?
You know, we've got a tornado that could be coming very close to the radar site even, or very, very, very close to where the office is. That's Centerville, Alabama. We're next in line. We want you, this is our storm tracker, John Humphreys, out there right now. This is a really, really violent tornado that's happening right now, and it could be rain-wrapped. You see the heavy rain that's coming down right now. Centerville, this tornado could be tracking right towards you. Maybe just on the south side of Centerville, but we're really concerned for you here in Centerville. Bibb County is under that tornado warning. The town of Brent, it's there. In Centerville, it's moments away. We're going to zoom right down into it tonight. Where we can best determine the tornado is going to live is going to be about right here. So where is that? That's Old Davison Plantation Road and Partridge Street. That's where the tornado is at the moment. And that's going to come, Centerville sits right up here, all right? You might be actually experiencing some pretty intense winds as we speak. Maybe even you see debris that's falling out of the sky right now. That's eventually going to come across, say, County Road 219. That's the debris signature right there. We clearly have debris that's in the air right now, and that's it hit something all along the way here from Darden Avenue, County Road 25 to Partridge Street. It's hit something all along the way here, unfortunately. Now about to come over, at least this is where the debris is. That could be basically where the tornado itself is. So Highway 219 or County Road 219, eventually towards Stallings Road, Selma Road, Subtle Street. I'll widen it out just a little bit. Centerville, it's just, I mean just to your south, but Centerville and Brent and area southbound, you have got to be in a safe place ASAP. There's the hook echo, and it doesn't get any more obvious than that. I'm going to take the tracker off of there, because what's happening is it's a very classic supercell right now. So you've got the upper levels of the atmosphere are taking the top of the storm off. It's probably a very tall storm, probably roughly 55, 60,000 feet. This is the anvil part of the storm, way up here. You'll even get some hail up in this part of the storm. And then you're going to get the cold inflow that comes into the storm. You're going to get southerly flow out of the Gulf of Mexico here. And basically the storm is going to wrap in on itself just like that. And that little curly Q, that little hook echo, as we call it, that looks like a fish hook, down here at the bottom is where the tornado lives, right there. Clear as day. I mean, it is textbook tornado here in Bibb County. Please get to a shelter as fast as you can. We've got a tornado emergency in effect. Now, I'm going to take you just outside of Birmingham. Birmingham sits down here, bottom left of your screen. St. Clair County under a tornado warning. This coming past Springville right now, an observed tornado here, and it's also sitting right in there. Very clear velocity signature showing the winds going in 2 different directions right next to each other. So that implies we've got spin going on right here, maybe even threading the needle between Springville and Ragland here. But we want you to get to a safe spot here in both of these locations, and up toward even Gadsden, Asheville, and Odenville. Our warning is until 6 o'clock tonight. I'll track this out for you. I'm going to expand this take this warning out a little bit farther, the tracker out a little bit farther for you here. Cool Springs, 5:14, and it's there. So you've got no time. I mean, it's going to be there in 1 minute. It's going to come across Highway 23. It's going to be near Asheville at 5:20. Also, get to shelter as fast as you can. Grab a helmet, grab some shoes for everybody in your family.
A tornado warning has been issued for your area.
Don't be on a top story. Don't be on the 2nd level, 3rd level. You've got to be down low. You've got to be on the ground level, and you need to be underground if you can. Do you have a storm shelter? It's the safest place for you to be. You are in a lot of danger if you're on the upper floor of a home right now, Jackie.
Absolutely. So lowest level of your home, as many walls as you can between you and the outside, and just stay there. You know, trust the warning, stay there until the all clear has been issued. I know sometimes you can be impatient, you're scared, you don't know what's going on and you want to get more information, but the best thing to do is stay in that safe room and wait the storms out. And just because you've had one storm tonight, Mike, you know, it may not be the only storm that you have to deal with. You know, Birmingham's been hit over and over, and when we think about what a scary situation it is to the north and east of there right now, in a way, you know, it could have been worse in the fact that this developed basically over Birmingham and then moved to the north and east. Imagine if this ramped up just to the south and west of this. So we just are continuing to follow these dangerous storms. These are classic textbook examples of what we study when we go to school. This is what the environment is like for long-lived, very strong, very destructive tornadoes. Days like today, high-risk days that we call them, only happen, you know, maybe a handful of times a year. So here we are with back-to-back storm systems about a week apart from each other. And unfortunately, some areas that have been hit last week could be hit again here for tonight. So we continue to follow the threat of tornadoes in Alabama, where we have tornado emergencies. That's the one right here. This is a tornado emergency in Bibb County. Brent and Centerville, both under the tornado emergencies, because we know that a tornado is moving through there. Bibb, it's pushing through right now and continuing to track up towards the north and the east. Clearly can see that debris ball, and we can see that hook signature indicating that that tornado remains on the ground and likely causing some damage. And there we can see, there's Brent now. It looks like the worst area of rotation and where that debris is being lofted now is just off towards your east, where you see 58 on your screen. Yeah, that's the one. So this is Highway 82. That's a little bit more of a highly traveled road. That is the area where we're seeing that debris confirmed being pulled up and lofted into the air. So folks right there, right along that Highway 82, need to be in their safe place right now. And there you can really see
that's really scary,
that
Jackie.
signature. That
dark blue means there's a lot of stuff in the air right now. It's come right across 82. So I think this tornado unfortunately has hit a lot of things. Now it's not a guarantee it's necessarily hit buildings. I'm sure it has. But it could be other things. It could be leaves from trees. It could be tree branches. It could be pieces of roof. I mean, we just don't know. But it's a very clear signature, and we know there's a lot in the tornado when you see that deep blue like that. And it's a large signature too. It's not a tiny little speck.
Yeah, it's a very strong one, right? A lot of times we'll see some of those lighter colors with just a little bit of something getting lofted, but when you see that dark blue color, you know that that's very serious and likely larger pieces of debris. And if you're asking yourself, what exactly is that? Why am I looking at that? So the radar scans out, right? And it sees the raindrops, basically. And raindrops generally are pretty uniform, mostly-ish the same size. And when we start to see something that doesn't match, sort of that what doesn't belong here, it detects that and it brings back a stronger signal and that higher signal. And wow, you can see just how long that was on the ground. I mean, that's been causing damage all the way along, or at least lofting debris, since it was way back there by past 25. Yeah, northwest of Greensboro. So you can see that this has been followed and tracked all the way along. 30, look at that, Sarah Dillingham running radar for us tonight, putting the distance tracker on there so that we can see that this has been causing damage likely for at least 40 miles. That is exactly a long track tornado. Brent, hopefully you're continuing to stay in your safe place right now. And this is continuing to track towards the north and east. So we just want to give folks a heads up in areas to the north and east there, downwind, where we're going to continue to see this threat. So Oakley, Manuka, you are all in the path of this very dangerous confirmed tornado right now. You can see some of the roads there to give you a better idea of where that is. So Gary Springs Loop, that's where we're seeing it right now. You need to be in that safe place, Gary Springs Loop. And then Deer Creek Road, it's just about on you. No time to waste. get to your safe place immediately. Montevallo, Calera, anybody traveling along Interstate 65, you need to get off the roads and into a shelter immediately. If you know somebody who's driving here tonight along that stretch of Interstate 65, call them right now. They got to get off the road. This is a fast-moving storm. It's moving. Sarah, still 55? Is that's what we're seeing the latest? Yeah, still about 55 miles per hour. So that's tracking with you as you're driving down the interstate, so to speak, right? That's how fast it's moving. So Oakley, another town being affected there. This will likely stay just to the south of Alabaster, and it also looks like it will stay just to the south of the city of Birmingham as well. So that's a little bit of good news that it will likely miss the most populated city within that area, but still bad news for all the folks that are in the line. Alabaster and the National Weather Service and their Doppler radar are located right there. So that's that little black dot that you see. This could potentially be going just to the south or very near or over where the Doppler radar is. So hopefully those folks staying safe and seeking shelter. We know that they're tracking it, and they do have safety precautions in place for that, and plans in place is that they'll hand over responsibility of warnings and all information on tornadoes to an adjacent office if they need to get to their safe place. So right now they're watching it and knowing that they may have to take that additional step, but we'll see. So let's put a new tracker on this as we have to continually update this. Oakley 5:23 is your most updated time where the tornado would be on top of you. Ocampo 5:32, Calera now at 5:35, and as we switch back over to correlation coefficient, where we see that mode where we look for those unusual colors that don't match all the rest of them for that debris getting lofted high up into the atmosphere, thousands of feet. That's it right there, that dark blue color. So that is now well to the east of Brent. So Brent, I think it's safe to say that this is past you, at least for now, but this continues to stay just to the south of County Road 25. This is just to the west of 139. This will be getting very close to the East Ashby Road, which is also known as County Road 107 right there, as it continues to move to the north and east. So this remains a very strong, very violent tornado, continuing to cause damage and staying on the road. Some of the smaller locations that could be affected by this includes Mills Church, 5:24. We mentioned Oakley at 5:31. Ebenezer Baptist Church, Chestnut Grove School, 5:37. I know a lot of the kids, Mike, are actually on spring break this week, so there should be no after-school activities. And I know a lot of them that were actually in session were released early just to avoid that risk and those threats to the kids, too.
It's just amazing. Kind of what we're seeing on radar is really, really nasty stuff. I mean, there's just the storms that are east of Birmingham, the storms that are south of Birmingham are really, really scary right now. There's a new tornado warning. I'm going to get to this one. It's over in the Charlotte area right now. So I'm going to get to this one tonight because this is a brand new warning. It's been issued over here near Midland. So Charlotte sits right here. It's east of Charlotte. Cabarrus and Union counties right now are under a tornado warning. Then we're going to go east of there even over towards Stanley County under a tornado warning for us right now. I don't know if we do have the high-res radar on there. That's what I wanted to see there. Storm right over Highway 601 right now. Midland, we're getting hit, and we're getting hit very hard right now. I want to take a look at the velocities and see what the velocity is doing right now. I don't see a lot in the way of rotation. Now, here's the thing about Charlotte. They've got terrible radar coverage in Charlotte. I'm just going to say it. The radar is down in Greer, South Carolina. And Charlotte's just one of those places, and this is where the radar is, long way away. There's mountains and stuff in the way, so it's shooting thousands of feet into the air. So a lot of times what they're looking at is the terminal Doppler at the airport, which can give you a lot better look at the storm. But we're at the limits of the radar, unfortunately. But right in here near Midland is where the tornado could be. And so let's just go ahead and track that for you and give you some idea of where it's headed to next. Headed over towards, say, Big Lick, Frog Pond, Norwood Beach. These are all places we want you to get to shelter as quickly as you can this evening with new tornado warnings that have been issued here, indicated by the radar. All right, let's go back over toward the Birmingham area. Birmingham, again, down to the bottom left-hand side of your screen. Really intense tornado here in St. Clair County, coming past Asheville, threatening us near Ragland as well. I think it might go just north of Raglan. Tornado sits right in there where that green and yellow are next to each other. We've got a tornado vorticity signature, as it's known. Our warning goes for another about 35 minutes or so on this. I will step you through this kind of scan by scan. Look how intense that was coming past Trussville, over Interstate 59, across Highway 23, over Highway 231, and now sits just north of Raglan. Want you to get to shelter as quickly as you can with a tornado basically on top of you at this point. I'm going to move the radar again. These storms are moving so fast, they're kind of ahead of what we can keep up with on the tracker and the radar. So let's take this off to the north and east here. South side going to be there around 5:36 for you this evening. In Colwell around 5:41. I want to see if there's any debris within this and see if we've noticed anything on this particular storm. Oh, maybe a little bit right there that come past Springville and up around Asheville, coming across Highway 231 and right over, say, Highway 11 towards Steele. So we know, in fact, Jackie, that something has indeed, maybe multiple things have been hit by this tornado.
Okay, we want to go back and show you some new images that we have right now from a tornado earlier today, just outside of Birmingham. This is the Eagle Point neighborhood, and clearly you can see these are, large, well-built homes, brick-faced homes that have been taking on a lot of damage. We've seen varying degrees of damage. There you can see the second floor pretty much taken out, and in this picture, boy, that looks like the entire home has basically just collapsed there. There you can see insulation coming out with an open roof, shingles taken off that roof there as well, and then pieces of debris all within the trees. And here's another home very nearby, and look at this one. This one has a little bit of roof damage, but nothing compared to some of the other ones. And a tree here in the foreground that looks like it was just cut off almost at the base. This one looks like it's uprooted and toppled over here, and there you can see one that's crossing the road. So we're continuing to get new information by the minute, really, of the damage, and the situation is still uncertain in terms of any injuries or fatalities, but we'll continue to look for that and keep you up to date on this. But to give you an idea, here's Birmingham, here's Highland Lakes. This is where we're talking about the Eagle Point area and Greenstone subdivisions, where numerous structures have been reported to have some damage within this area. Also, a confirmed tornado off of near the airport at Bessemer Airport. That's been confirmed here too. So that was earlier today. That's not the one that just happened to the north and east side of town and moved on through. Also, Riverside, we're getting reports of numerous trees that have been uprooted here, lines down in some areas. So there are lots of folks without power, and we'll just continue to get more and more. It's difficult to communicate, Mike, when you have events like this, because power is out. Sometimes cell phones go down, so it takes a while to get all the information. And of course, they don't want anybody to go in these areas because it's fluid and it's dangerous to be out there.
It can be very dangerous. There can be a lot of debris on the roads. There could be live power lines that are down. Yep. So the best thing you can do is kind of stay put. But we have some really violent tornadoes happening right now. This one that is about 40 miles south of Birmingham is really dangerous. This is Bibb County is under a tornado warning with a very clear tornado that's been on the ground for quite some time now. Very clear hook echo happening. Potential catastrophic damage is possible with this tornado, and it's going to come across Interstate 65. At this point, no reason to believe that we can dissipate before it gets there. What I'm going to show you is I'm going to time this out for you. I'm going to put a tracker on here, show you where the tornado is. It sits right here, and it's only about 13 miles from the highway. All right, so moving at 45 miles an hour, it'll be there in a matter of minutes. So we encourage everyone to be off the highway. That is a tornado that's tracking in this direction. This is where the Doppler radar is, and that's where the National Weather Service office is, and they're going to take shelter. So this is a bad situation. Now, here's the thing, too. Because, and I'll just kind of give you a little bit of geekiness here, but because the radar site is so close, the radar site is only 16 miles from the tornado. The radar is getting an incredibly clear picture of what's happening with this tornado. So there's no mistaking what is happening here. It is clear as day. We have a tornado signature that doesn't get any more vivid than that. And really intense outbound and inbound winds for the radar right next to each other. All right, so we've got a very intense tornado at Highway 139, County Road 139, and East Ashby Road. That's exactly where the tornado is right now. And I'll zoom in even closer. We can put some more city streets on here. Ebenezer Road, County Road 109, County Road 73. These are all roads that the tornado will go over. See, Ebenezer Road in particular. Here's Ebenezer Road right here. We're going to get hit hard tonight. Oh, you got to get to shelter. If you have an underground shelter, basement, best place for you to go right now. Calera, I think we're about to be next in line. And again, here's Interstate 65. It's probably going to go north of Jemison at this point. I want to show you the debris on this because this has been a really telling thing. And I'm going to widen this way out so that you see just how far this tornado has traveled. Look for the dark blue spot on the map, all right? Do you see it there that goes past? It starts over here, right around, say, County Road 25, right there. Then watch it trek in this direction, all right? That's where the tornado has been living. I'm going to go through it step by step. Just watch this. Tornado on the ground the whole time here. Look at that. Now it's getting closer and closer to the Doppler radar site itself. So you're going to get a little bit of attenuation, but right in there is where the tornado is right now, right on County Road 139 and near East Ashby. Going to go back to the velocities because I think that gives you a really good look, but at this point it could start to get a little bit muddied because of the proximity to the radar site itself. County Road 110, County Road 113 will be hit by this tornado. If you're familiar with these roads, if you live anywhere near them, you have to get to shelter. County Road 108, County Road 73, Highway 155, County Road 2, County Road 46, County Road 128. These are all spots where the tornado is going to come. Tornado emergency has now been declared. Let me widen it out a little bit bigger. Wilton, Calera, we're under a tornado emergency right now. Montevallo, we're under a tornado emergency as well. What that means is we have a potential catastrophic event that's happening for us right now. I'm going to go back to the velocities here, and you might be able to get a lot clearer picture of what's going on with the tornado with the hook echo that's right there and a rotation that's going to spin up in this direction. Again, Bibb County, catastrophic potential with this tornado. Moving it over into the next county over. It goes all the way over toward Talladega Springs, Chilton and Shelby counties. Tornado warning for us. Calera, Columbiana, Montevallo here. Tornado emergencies for us. Observed tornado on the ground. This is likely a very large tornado, maybe even a wedge tornado, which would indicate that when we say a wedge tornado, it's not like you would think of like a wedge of cheese where you got kind of a triangular shape. It really means that the tornado appears wider than it is tall. A lot of times you'll have these massively wide tornadoes and they do a lot of damage because they are so wide they hit a lot of things. If I could zoom way down into this, now I'm gonna do this and see if we can get down to the velocities again and give you any kind of indication of just how wide the tornado is. So if we're down, we go right down real close. And this would just be kind of a rough estimate of where you would see even extending out to maybe EF0 winds. And that's what the Weather Service would look at. Let's measure it if we can. This would be a very rudimentary. That would be 4 miles wide to the very periphery of the entire rotation. Now, tornado winds may not extend that much, all right? But if you were to look at, say, maybe the most intense part of the couplet, which would be maybe here to here, mile wide, potentially mile wide tornado happening for us right now. It's an intense tornado. You have to take shelter. You have to get to your safe spot as quickly as you can. What I'll also do is I'm going to widen this out a little bit more, and I'm going to put this into motion for you. This is going to show you just rotation. I'm going to go a little bit wider even, so you get a better picture of what's going on here. Look at that rotation just coming right across the landscape tonight. That's really dangerous. Calera, we've got a tornado emergency for us, which means we are in a very tough spot. You've got to get to a safe spot as quickly as you can. Remember, where's the safest spot in our home to go? Don't be on the second floor. Don't be on the third floor. Don't be on the upper floor. You got to get to the ground level. You can survive a violent tornado even if you don't have a basement or a storm shelter. Seen it happen many times, Jackie. I actually remember, and it's one of the most memorable moments I've ever had. A family in Moore, Oklahoma survived an EF5 tornado where they all got in the bathtub of their bathroom on the first floor. Their entire home was demolished.
Can happen.
The only thing left was the bathroom. You can survive this if you're smart and you get to the safest spot in your home. This can be survivable.
Yeah, a helmet is great if you have it, if you can do that, even putting a mattress or something over the top of you, because if everything else goes and your bathroom is okay, you probably don't have a roof, and debris can affect you. So something to cover yourself up is good too. Something else I really want to point out, Mike, is, you know, we've been talking how this is getting really close to the radar, and we're starting to see some of those returns get a little bit muddied, right? So when you think of how high a radar is off the ground and the beam shoots out at an angle above that, as this gets closer to the radar, you lose a little bit of that data, or it gets spread out, right? And the tornado is lower.
The tornado is going to sneak underneath the radar.
Exactly. So the tornado would be lower and underneath that beam. So as the radar changes, don't have a false sense of security. For example, in a place like, you know, Calera, that it looks different, maybe not so bad for you. It just looks different because of its proximity to the radar. And that's one of the reasons why the radar is where it is. Because if you put that thing in Birmingham, into a city, you're going to lose that data over one of your most populous areas here in northern Alabama, in an area where we often see tornadoes, especially this time of the year, and of course a secondary severe weather season back into the fall. So when we zoom out and show you how far that distance is, it's about 30 miles per hour, or 30 miles out rather. So that's optimal to be getting those better returns as it moves over the city. So just trust the warnings here tonight. Trust that that tornado is still on the ground, still causing damage. It's already been on the ground for miles and miles. We know at least 40 miles, maybe more than that. So do get to your safe place immediately. Take those tornado precautions. You know, say a prayer, do whatever you believe in, and keep yourself and keep your family safe here for tonight, because you know, this is the strongest message that we can get out for you tonight, is that your life depends on it.
And then we look at this other tornado that's, you know, northeast side of Birmingham. This one also a really dangerous storm tonight. And so we've got two tornadoes that have been on the ground for quite some time here that are doing damage right now. Birmingham, and I don't know what to tell you, we've threaded the needle. Right in the city, we've been very lucky. We've had some strong storms, but the tornadoes had not hit us, luckily. I do want to give you a little bit of indication where this one might be headed. This is the one that's northeast of Birmingham, headed toward Glencoe around 5:38, Hoax Bluff around 5:44 tonight, Estes Crossroads around 5:52 for you this evening. And I also want to take a look and see if we have, and we've been throwing a lot of terms at you folks, but correlation coefficient. What's different about this one than the other tornado we've been showing you south of Birmingham is that we may not have as clear a picture of debris in this storm, right? Which is a good thing. So right in there is where we potentially have the tornado, but if you take a look at that correlation coefficient compared to the correlation, oh boy, now, and you've mentioned it, Jackie, it's now getting so close to the radar that the tornado is literally sneaking under the radar beam. If I can go back a couple of steps, so, and I'll widen out just a bit, where the tornado has been is you'll see a dark blue spot. It's it right there. But as the tornado comes in this direction, closer and closer to the radar site, the beam goes above the tornado goes underneath the radar. So, you know, our best guess would be that the tornado is about right there, right? Which means Calera, it's almost right on top of us. You've got to get to a safe spot.
Yeah, the tornado emergency, hence the reason why that's been issued. And, you know, sometimes tornadoes can cycle a little bit, Mike, as well, where we'll see tightening rotation and that will broaden out and weaken. I think we had that a little bit earlier today with the first one that moved through the Birmingham area down towards Eagle Point, and that might be one of the reasons why some of that damage is really spotty through that area, but we have not seen that with these two tornadoes that we have that are confirmed right now. They've been holding together. The rotation has stayed tight. It stayed strong. It stayed on the ground all throughout the duration. And so every confidence is, even though the radar looks a little muddy right now, that we still have a tornado on the ground that's causing damage and will continue to do so even after it crosses Interstate 65.
You know, looking at the reflectivities here, Jackie, that shows us, you know, precipitation. One encouraging sign is there's some rain that's approaching from the south. What that might do is pull in some cooler air into the system. If that happens, that can help choke off the warm rotating updrafts here. That would be beneficial. That storm's not particularly strong. If that was a really strong storm that was kind of merging with this, you could actually see the two of them cycle, and then downstream might produce another tornado. I'm hopeful that this right here and maybe a little bit of rain that's out ahead of it here might actually weaken the storm a little bit here. That would be the best case scenario. Again, I wouldn't count on what's going on in the radar right now as totally being truthful. It looks like it might be coming a little bit more rain wrap, but again, it could be sneaking under the radar a little bit here.
Right, and those the rain and the reflectivity that we see down there towards Mineral Springs, keep in mind the radar's trying to punch through beyond the tornado first, and then the radar returns, down to the south of it, so it may not have a real accurate depiction of just how intense that storm south of there actually could be. So that's something to keep an eye on, I think, as we move forward as well. But there it is. You can really clearly still see that couplet, the tightening of that tornado with the winds moving towards and away from the radar, indicating certainly that rotation, which continues to track through and is just about on top of Clara right now.
Potential 1 mile wide tornado, I would estimate here, Jackie, where you have some of the most intense winds right now. That doesn't mean that all 1 mile wide of that is producing the most intense. The most intense winds will be probably in a small core near the center of the vortex itself, where the winds will gradually weaken as you go out farther. So the edges of the tornado will be weaker than the center core of it. Having said that, if you're living in a very vulnerable structure, say like a mobile home, an EF0, it could potentially knock your mobile home over. It could flatten it. And so it's not a safe place to be. And this is why, and again, I-65 near Calera, well south of Birmingham, about 35 miles south of Birmingham, you got to be off the highway. Being in your vehicle is a very dangerous thing as well.
Yeah. We've got a live video in right now, a live stream here from Storm Tracker John Humphreys from Centerville, where the tornado emergency was issued, and clearly he's continued to track conditions there. Boy, tough to see on that skyline. I'm not sure that I see anything that's jumping out at me right now that shows a tornado, but we'll continue to monitor this. As we know, this is a confirmed tornado that's been going through the region and has been causing a whole lot of damage. Mike, this is one of those scary nights for sure, where folks feel unsettled. We always say, be prepared, not scared if you can. I know that's easier said than done, right? But sometimes you gotta be strong for the kids and the rest of the family, and just make sure you have everything in place, and that you plan it. That's why we plan ahead for these things, and why watches are issued, and why high-risk days are issued, so that leading up to this event that you've got that time that's needed to be able to take that action immediately. Because when you have fast-moving storms like this that are confirmed and on the ground, there's just little time sometimes to get to that safe place.
So I'm going to show, we have on here, Jackie, just the last hour of radar data, and in an hour, the tornado has been on the ground for 53 miles now, and no indication that it's weakened all that much even in the last hour. In fact, I think it's intensified over the last hour. It's maintained a pretty straight line, too. It hasn't been that erratic. It hasn't cycled. It's actually stayed intense about that entire 53 miles at this point. So all points in between have been in danger. And we talk about John Humphrey's camera in Centerville. Centerville, I believe, is about right here, just outside of Brent, so between Calera and Brent. But, when you think about a tornado that's been on the ground for that long, it's been on the ground even longer than that. I mean, I'd have to set the radar back a couple hours to get all of it. But this potentially could be, and I think it was back around Forkville. Now I'm starting to get all my cities. Forkland. So Forkland then is way back. I'll even get you to Forkland to there.
There you go.
I think it was even past Forkland. It was on the ground. So from there to there, it's been on the ground for 76 miles.
Wow.
A really long track tornado, and a lot of that track has been violent tornado.
Absolutely. So we've got two of them that we're tracking right now. And interesting, too, that these are somewhat isolated, so to speak. But a lot of times that can happen, too, Mike, right? Where these strong storms sort of suck out all the energy, so to speak, in the atmosphere and take over and end up being, the main event or the one main show that moves through. Now, that's not to say there aren't going to be other rotating storms, but certainly it takes a lot of energy, a lot of that cape, a lot of that lift to be able to sustain a storm like like this, and the environment out ahead of it continues to stay strong and very favorable for that thing just to keep going.
It does. Dr. Nab was analyzing this yesterday because we talk about SLIM a lot here on the Weather Channel. If you watch it with any frequency, we talk about shear, lift, instability, and moisture, kind of the 4 ingredients that you really need to have for tornadoes to form. He was talking yesterday about how instability is going to be really high today, and we're going to get these storms that really hold together and take off once they get forming. And the hook echo on this has been there for a while right now, and so that, you know, when you see the threat being catastrophic, that word we don't use very often, right? And so it really gets your attention, and it really, you know, for folks that are in line, the time to act is at that moment.
Absolutely. Never delay, always. And just a quick reminder again, a watch means conditions are favorable. A warning means it's happening now. Get to your safe place immediately as these warnings continue here tonight. Continuing coverage on the Weather Channel.